Okay, so I'm still, excuse me, can't even get started. I'm still trying to play around with some lighting. And in fact, I have a new light coming today, but I didn't want to wait another week to do the show because I don't know what time it's going to come in. And I want to, you know, I just wanted to get this show done. But I think this is probably going to do for now. I did actually play around with my camera settings. I thought, wait a minute, does this camera on my computer have settings where I can at least just adjust the color and saturation a little bit and contrast so I don't look so washed out? And I found I could. So I might still have to play around with it some, but so far I think it's looking better than before. And, I have a nice webcam that I used back in the days, like in 2016, to shoot my live shows. I have no idea what I did with that thing. It got set aside because I thought I'm probably never going to use this again, but I know I didn't toss it. I was keeping it just in case. I have no idea where it is. Well, I have an idea, but it will mean it's buried, and it will mean I will have to dig a whole bunch of stuff out to find it. Because, man, it's been at least 9 years since I've used it. Maybe it doesn't even work anymore. But I would like to just continue to mess around with the one I've got and see if I can't get good lighting. So you might see there's more lights in my background. I still have some overhead lights on. Otherwise, it's just a little bit too dark, but not all of them. Because remember, this is my old dance room, martial arts studio. And so there's like 5 sets of fluorescent lights going across here. And they're on 2 different switches. For one switch, I can turn on just 2 rows, and the other switch turns on just 3. And both of them obviously means you have all 5 of them on. And it's too bright. And then you can't see all my pretty lights in the background, my little lanterns. And Patrick, this thing right here, Patrick just made this for me, like just a few minutes before I got it on here. He hung that on there for me. So I've got a little mason jar with some lights inside it and some fake foliage. And then that picture in the back, it's just a temporary one for now. I have a different one I want to hang, but I had to order it. I had to order the poster. I've already got one of Patrick's handmade frames. That is also one of his handmade frames. And that's a puzzle I did years ago. So there's the tiger right there. So if you can't see very well, I have a small tiger collection because I adore tigers. So of course there's tigers over there on that little scroll thing. And I got a few different tigers around here and a couple up there. I always forget which hand I'm supposed to use here. And so I just kind of spread them out. Plus a couple of leopards. Tigers, leopards, lions. I've always been a big fan of the big cats, but especially tigers. I just think they're so beautiful and majestic looking. But thank you. Thank you, Dawn, for the compliment on my background. But I want to show you a couple other tigers just for fun. So some of you will recognize this little guy. I got him a long time ago. He was a keychain. I think I used him as a keychain for a while, but his little thing broke off. So Tony the tiger, he always had the best voice too. And I'm curious how many of you will recognize this very vintage piece that was gifted to me some years back. Anybody recognize this guy? I give a gold star to whoever can figure out what famous tiger this is, or semi-famous. Infamous? Yeah, so Tony here, but this one's a little different. You don't see this one anymore. I'll let you chew on it for a little bit and see if you can. No, not Chester Cheeto. He's a fairly new character. Actually, I don't know what his actual name is, but it has to do, well, it does have to do with something rather famous. At least we had, I don't want to give too much away yet. I'm going to give you guys some time to guess. Tiger in a tank? No. It's fairly old. I was a child when this was popular. And I don't remember how old I was. I was still a child when this particular entity that had this and another character as their main, what do you call it? Mascots, I guess. And it was done away with in my a few years later on. And I loved it so much. So it might be a tough one. It might be a tough one to get. When my friend back in the day, when she gave this to me, I knew immediately what it was. And I had wanted this little stuffed character for so long. But as a kid, I hardly ever asked for anything. Okay, I'm going to give you a hint. Gas station tiger? No, not a gas station tiger. You're kind of close. It was actually a rather popular restaurant. We had one in Wenatchee, and I adored it. One of my favorite things about it was because of the tigers, or the tiger. Yeah, once you figure out what it is, you'll know why they did it, why they got rid of the restaurant. And that particular restaurant in Wenatchee ended up getting turned into a Bob's Big Boy. Not Tigger. I have a Tigger. It's not Tigger. Ooh, somebody's almost close. Okay, or Tammy, I think you basically got it. And Dana. So it was a Sambo's restaurant. Sambo's. So it had the little Middle Eastern boy was the other main character. But like I said, the tiger was why I love that restaurant so much. And they had all those lighted pictures all over with the tigers. And I was always just loved tigers. So this, I don't know. It could cost a lot of money for all I know. So it was quite the gift that she gave to me. You had a little golden book. I can't remember if I had that. But anyway, yeah, they had these. You could only get them at Sambo's restaurant. And so it is rather precious. It's kind of dusty and gray and old. It's faded quite a bit. Anyway, it was pretty cool. I love that restaurant so much. They had good food too. They had good food. At least what I remember. Pancakes with lots of butter. Anyway, so today I did have a single topic, but I decided to change my mind because I had a lot of little smaller topics, and I don't want to try to be on here too long because I did shoot 3 videos today. My vocal cords are a little thrashed, and even though I gave myself time in between, you had a Sambo's in South Tacoma Way. Okay. I don't know how far they extended. I just know we had that one in Wenatchee where I grew up and loved it so much. Anyway, I've said that like a billion times now. I guess I can stop being so redundant. But anyway, so first off, I did put that link. I'm going to put it again here just in case YouTube cuts us off, which was one of the reasons I just got so fed up for a while with the live shows. This is to the backup stream. It will be set to private until and if I need it. If I get cut off, I will then go set it to public, and it still takes me a couple minutes to get it up and going, but you'll know where to go if you lose me on here. It'll just, basically the screen will just freeze, but give me a few minutes to make sure that's all it is. And I will let you know in the chat. Now, a couple of other things I got to remind people of is that I don't know what it is about my channel, or maybe it's because I don't use like the OSB program. Is it OSB? That's a plywood, or not a plywood, but a particle board. Is it OBS? I don't know. Whatever. I used to use that program years ago. There you go. OBS. And I don't know if it's because of that or because I stream directly to YouTube, and it takes like 24 hours for the video to process. And until that time, until it's fully processed, I can't go in there and turn off mid-roll ads. It is absolutely annoying. Why should I have to allow them to put mid-roll ads on it at all? I found a way to prevent them from putting mid-roll ads on while I'm live, but once the live is over, they'll put in mid-roll ads, and I can't change it until the next day. And the other irritating thing is the live chat will not show up until it's processed. Then it's no longer live, but the chat replay, I should say. So I forgot about all that until I did that test live the other day to make sure all my equipment was working. So anyway, hello to everybody that's been coming in that I've missed. I know Tammy was the first one to pop in here. She's just so excited for me to give her a hard time. I know that's why. And then we've got Tyler to give me a bad time, and everyone else too. I use OBS and the live chat is delayed at least a day. Okay, so it's not just because of the way I use it. All right. I used to use that, and maybe one of these days I'll download it. It just seems like it was more of a hassle than just going directly to live, but I'm sure I know you could add in pictures that way that will show up on the screen rather than me doing something like this, like holding a picture up, which I was going to show you. Any Washingtonians would probably recognize this artist. I have a lot of her work. And this was Jody Bergsma. And I actually she came here to Forks one time. And I have several of her tiger paintings that she had done, or prints. And then I got a couple for the boys because Ryan was really into eagles and wolves. So I got him a couple, and and at the time, Justin was this was when she got more into the less cartoony stuff and the more like this. She started off kind of doing characters more like this girl right here, but then she started doing more nature stuff and having it be less cartoony and cutesy. And so I got the kids each a couple of smaller prints, so Justin was into like sea life stuff. So he had a whale, and I think, did he have one with dolphins or something? And then Ryan had one with eagles and one with wolves on it. And then we each picked one of them when she came, and she was doing, she was signing her work. And so we each took one. And the one that I have that signed is hanging on the wall back here. Maybe I'll show it to you next week. And then, yeah, so it was kind of cool. But anyway, she was a real popular artist back in was it late 90s? Mid to late? Anyway, I don't know if she's still doing stuff, but I haven't seen anything new from her in a long time. But then again, I haven't looked. Okay, so let's start with talking about. So we had that video come out today. Remember, I shot that video 6 weeks ago, and some people brought up a couple things I didn't think of that were just really great ideas. And several people said this one about making sure you teach your children and your grandchildren how to read and write in cursive. Now, as a homeschooling mom, this was a mistake that I made. I was going to kind of ease them into cursive. I was teaching them italics, but I guess the reason why I didn't see it as important because my cursive was so bad that when I got into 8th grade, my teacher said, you know what? Okay, you know how to write in cursive, but your handwriting is so terrible. I think you should go back to printing because you can't read your handwriting. So I went back to printing, and I hardly ever use cursive anymore, except for sign my name. Well, so I only really taught the boys how to sign their name in cursive, was it, and worked with a little bit of italics. Italics, if you've never seen italics in homeschooling, it's actually the next step from the step between printing and cursive. And it sticks with more basic letters, but you still have a way of writing where you can connect all the letters. Well, it wasn't until, I don't know, I was pretty much done schooling my kids where I realized what a mistake that was to not get more serious about teaching them cursive. And that is because, like, I ended up with a couple of postcards that my grandfather, when he was in World War II, he was in Italy, had sent to my dad when he was a little boy. And then my grandfather, I think it was March or April of 1945, he ended up running over a landmine, and he passed away. So I never met him. My dad was only 4 at the time, but I have this one postcard that was written to him in cursive by my grandfather when my dad was just 4, and it was written only like a day or 2 before my grandpa died. And I'm reading this thing, and I'm realizing that future generations wouldn't be able to go back and see that postcard, and they'd think it was a completely different language. And so this is why it's important to at least learn cursive and know how to read it, because there could be a lot of written down information that's going to be lost because our future generations will have no idea how to read it. Writing it is a good idea, but being able to at least decipher it, to be able to read it, is going to be incredibly important. So I don't know if my kids if my boys can read much cursive, because I just didn't push it that hard. I really don't know. But anyway, that is a good skill to make sure we don't totally throw in the trash. Just because, because back then too, you're thinking, oh, we're getting more into computers and typing, and, people just don't do a whole lot of writing anymore other than signing things. Like, that was definitely a mistake on my part. That's the one thing I regret not doing as a homeschool mom, was teaching them more seriously about cursive. It's not that I didn't cover it at all. It's just, I wish I would have taken it more seriously with them. So then another one that somebody mentioned was the importance of learning how to cook on a wood stove, an open fire, and other such. And of course, I have videos on this. I have a video I did a year or 2 years ago, maybe. I don't remember how long ago it was, where I show my basic off-grid kitchen setup, which isn't really a kitchen. It's just my living room with a wood stove in it. And that's because that's where my wood stove is, just standard wood stove. It's not a cook stove, but I've been cooking on it for a good number of years. I use it for everything. But even not just that, but, learning how to cook inside a wood stove on an open flame, considering, learning other ways that you can cook things. And even if you're one like me who has a wood stove, who depends on it a lot during the winter time, during the cold months, excuse me, may need to spray my throat again. I told you it was going to be a little rough today. Boy, my elderberry tincture does definitely help. Is that even if you have a wood stove and you think a wood stove will never break down, you'll never be without your wood stove. Well, let me tell you, sometimes things can go wrong. And for a few weeks now, I haven't had my wood stove, which has been a real bummer. Thankfully, we are not fully off-grid. So I did have to clean out my electric heaters, and I've been using those, but I still keep the heat as low as possible, and we bundle as we need. And then, shutting the curtains, trying to hold in as much heat as possible so I can save money, because I'm like, oh man, our heat bill, our electricity bill is going to skyrocket just by having to use the heat. Thankfully, we're also getting in a time of the year that I'm slowly being able to plug more and more things into our solar power to help offset that. But here's the thing. So yes, we have public power, so I can still use my electric stove and oven. But I also have for the many, many power outages, which we had one this morning. I was right in the middle of shooting a video. Bam, power goes out. I'm like, doggone it. Now I'm going to have to go plug in all my solar lights and whatnot. And the picture is going to change. And I'm just going to have to say, hey, we had a power outage, but I'm going to finish this video. So the lighting's a little different. But then it came back on. It was only out for a few minutes, thankfully. But it could suddenly go out again. But in the event that, now that I'm not sure how long I'm going to be without our wood stove, because there's just some repair work that needs to be done. Okay. It's just simple. It's not, well, I shouldn't say it's simple, but it's not like, oh, my whole wood stove is dead. But yeah, there's some things that need to be taken care of. And, the thing, we've had it for a long time. So there's rusted out parts and whatnot that need to be dealt with. At any rate, we'll get it up and running again. Definitely at least before next winter when we need it. But it's just another one of those reminders. What do you do when your main source of heat and cooking is gone? Even if you're already totally off grid, what do you do when you've got some repair work that needs to be done on your wood stove or on your chimney or whatever? Busted because it rusted. Well, if we do have another power outage, which we will, it is inevitable. I have a plethora of other ways I can cook. So if I don't have my wood stove, I don't have the public power. See, we covered these bases because I was thinking more if we had a power outage in the summertime where I don't have a wood stove going and it's too dark for me to use the solar oven outside, well, just off right over here by my sliding glass door, like you've heard me mention many times, I've got a camp oven / stove that I can use. I have it by the sliding glass door because it is propane. And so if I need to use it, I can open up that door and get some ventilation. Okay, so that's why it's there. Tammy, that maybe we'll see. It's I'm not sure when Patrick will be able to finish it out because he's been super busy with other things. And anyway, long story, but we'll see. But then we also have just your standard camp stoves. We got a couple of those green Coleman camp stoves. I don't even know if they make them green anymore, but the ones we have are green. We picked one of them up. It's all rusty for $1. So if you watch my recent this and that video, the one that published on this Monday, where I was talking about the camping, Patrick camping out of the box truck and how he set that Coleman camp stove up there. That was the one we picked up for $1 at a garage sale. We've got our barbecuer. And, we've got our, well, we have to do this one outside. I need stuff I can do inside or just in, a fairly protected area. But, yeah, we have a lot of ways to cook. What was I going to say? Rocket stove. So I have the rocket stove too. I mean, there's so many different ways that we can cook. Heating will be a little bit more of a challenge, but we can stay warm. We have good insulation. We have lots and lots of blankets. We even have a little tent that we bought just in case. There's no power, there's no heat, and we have to try to stay warm, and we can set that little tent up inside the living room and close everything off to try to hold in as much heat as possible and sleep in the tent. But normally I'm too hot at night anyway, so I never heat the bedroom, ever, never, ever heat the bedroom. So I don't think we'd ever come to that. It's not like we hardly ever get below freezing here. So can you pick up a butane single burner stove for about, oh, you can. Yeah, for $30. We have a couple of those too. We have and then I think I showed you guys that one time, that little thing that Patrick got when he was in Boy Scouts, I think it was. And it's like this big little, just like in a little box, and you open it up and there's a little burner in there and you just kind of put it together real simply. And that's a little mini stove. I mean, so We have so many great ways to, we're covered. It's not, I was bummed because I know it means as far as heat goes, our electric bill is going to go up, but I'm being as frugal with it as I can. Like this big room here, it pretty much does have to, if you got to heat it, we do have to rely on electricity anyway, but we don't have to run it for very long. It's just one big heater we've got hung on the, from the ceiling because we needed it up high when I was using it as a dance room. So, kids wouldn't be able to touch it and stuff. And I just have to turn it on for a little bit. It warms up this room. And then I only turn it on when I absolutely need it. Like the grandbabies are going to play in here. And I think it's just a little too cold, but they can handle cold. Well, Jace can't handle the cold as much as Jax and Rowan. They tend to handle the cold just perfectly. But Jace, he would always stand by the fire. Now it's like, oh, he found the heaters because there's no fire. So he just, when the heaters are on, come on, he goes and stands by them. He just stands there. He loves it. But yeah, if I think it's just a little too cold for them to play, I might turn it on for a little bit just to take the chill off the air. And then the rest of the house, I only have 2 other heaters that are running, and they're the ones that Patrick installed some years ago. And I think they're pretty, they probably use less power than the old baseboard heaters that used to be in here in the house. So yeah. And so like I have the heat set at 65. I refuse to go higher than that. If people are cold, they can bundle. I'm being very frugal with it. Let's see. What else? So there was that. And let's talk about some garden updates going on. This will be the part that if I do make a standalone video out of this, I'll probably cut this out because it'll be so late in the season because it won't be for another 6 weeks. But a lot of you are probably like, garden? What? I mean, unless you're, of course, Deb, which I don't think Deb made any here, did she? I haven't seen Deb yet. Or Tyler. If you're living in the more wintry states, like in, especially in the Northeast, you're like, what? How can you even be thinking about gardening yet? I get it. But it's still pretty chilly around here. And it's raining today. That's why I picked that photo. It's around our area, and it's very cloudy and rainy. And so I thought that was a good thumbnail photo to pick for the show because that's pretty much what it looks like today. I think that picture looks like it was taken from Lake Crescent, which is, or not Lake Crescent or Lake Pleasant. I think it might be Lake Pleasant. Anyway, no, Lake Crescent. I think it's Lake Crescent. Whatever. Some of you are going, I don't care. I don't know what lakes are around you, but Tyler might get it. So anyway, around here, this time of year, when we get some nice days, like we had several really beautiful sunny days, like 3 in a row. And it's like, yes. And so I'm like, okay, I have to take advantage of these days when I get them. So one of the first things I start tackling are my grapevines and getting them pruned up. And I already am starting to see new buds come on them already. So I'm out there just pruning up my grapevines and just cleaning all that up. And because I don't do it, the reason I don't do it in the fall is because by then it's just, I still got grapes usually out there. It's too wet. It's pointless. It's best for a lot of the pruning here. It's easiest to do in the late winter, before we get into spring. And so I also have some pruning to do on my fruit trees. But the grapevines, I need to get those cleaned up first. And got quite a bit done. Got a nice pile of grapevines that I'll have to have Patrick haul off for me. And let's see, what else? Mostly that's it, but I keep going out and looking at things that I'm probably going to transplant, like a couple of my mullein plants that I started last year from seed. I just put them in small pots last year just to get them started. So this year I could get flowers off them and maybe start harvesting the leaves and stuff. And then plant some more mullein, start some more mullein this year, so I can always make sure I have mullein coming up, and hopefully it will come to a point where it's adapted enough to our area that it will start coming up from its own seed here. I know for people that live in certain drier climates, it just keeps coming back, because it's a biennial, not a perennial. So it comes up the first year, gets flowers the second year, puts out seeds, and then it dies. And then it's supposed to get new plants. And so I got to get it to where I can keep it going like that. And around here, even a lot of the plants that may do that well in drier areas, a lot of times you still have to start, like nasturtiums. Sometimes I can get nasturtiums coming back, calendula sometimes from the seed that falls, but most of the time I do better starting from the seed that I saved and then moving the plants out. So that's kind of what I'm looking at right now. I did transplant one of my yarrows that I'd started from seed. And anyway, so mostly it's just kind of a little pruning, a little cleanup here and there, a little planning and thinking about what seeds I want to start in the house and how soon. I'm thinking about waiting until the end of March, maybe. I might start them early March, but I'm thinking, because it seems like our cold has been carrying on later and later into the season each year. So I might wait until the end of March to start my tomatoes. And I know for sure I'm going to do, somebody sent me the ox heart tomato seeds. I've got the mortgage lifter tomato seeds that I saved from last year and was really happy with those. And then another real big one, I think I've got in my cart for Azure Standard is some, which we've grown in the past, long time ago, is a beefsteak. And then I'll have my purples that I grow every single year from the seed that I save. So, I'm thinking about that. I just got to decide for sure. I'm just going to try to keep watching the weather and depending on how it feels, I may still start them. I used to start them in February. It's my sister. She's sending me a Marco Polo. I told her I'd be live though. So, and I'll get back to her when I can. So what was I going to say? Yeah, I used to start them even in February, but then it just, as the weather keeps changing and getting, like I said, it just seems like the cold wants to hang on later and later, then my plants want to struggle. Even after moving them out to the greenhouse, they still kind of struggle a bit. So, but that's right. Our greenhouse is more insulated now. I forgot about that. Patrick closing in the soffits made a lot warmer. So I could start them maybe early March and they'll be okay out there because I start them in the house, let them grow until they're about this big. And I just put them in our south facing window here, warmest room in the house. And then I'll move them out to the greenhouse in pots there and then move them into the ground. And then same thing with my peppers, my Chinese 5-color peppers I love so much. But I'm also going to try some mini bell peppers this year. I saved seeds from some organic mini bell peppers I got from Misfits Market. And I'm going to try those and see how those do for me. We'll see. I haven't had haven't done real good with bell peppers even in the greenhouse. And I've tried a few different times. But I'll try again. Maybe because they're smaller, they'll have more of a chance to get going. So never tried tomatoes from cuttings. I haven't heard of people doing that. Well, I could see that working as long as you've got a tomato that's growing, because one year we had a neighbor cat that kept getting into my greenhouse and knocking my pots off of my the windowsills I have in there, because I'll grow some things in pots or even start some things in pots like my pumpkin and zucchini in the greenhouse. And so I have those sitting in the windowsill. Well, this cat kept getting into our greenhouse and knocking those pots down. And I had tomato plants that were pretty good size. And it ended up busting at least one completely, like almost all the way down to the ground, just broke it completely off because of the way the pot fell and hit it. And I know for sure one, and I think two. And so, and they were these big healthy plants. I was so mad. And so what Patrick did was he went and got a couple of 5-gallon buckets and filled them up with dirt because he had to be able to lift it up higher because all the root was, it was broken down, so we had to have something we could set it down into. And as long as you have enough that because tomatoes will shoot out roots from just about any part of the plant. And it worked. He saved those tomato plants, and I got tomatoes from him. So yeah, so I can see that working. I can see that working with, a cutting, because they'll just shoot off roots anywhere. Because if you think of it, if tomatoes don't have something to climb on, they'll just kind of grow along the ground and they'll just keep putting roots into the ground, whatever's touching the ground. So anyway, and that's why when you, like when you go to plant your starts, you break off some of the base leaves and then you so you can stick it down farther into the ground. That will make it even stronger, because it'll shoot off every part that's in the ground. Like if it's that long, or you even got it like this. I've tried this just out of curiosity. It'll shoot roots out along that whole section that's under the ground and give it even more stability. So yeah, so that's what I do. I don't do the curve thing anymore. I just tried it one time. I mostly just set it straight down. I try to get it about that far down, and then that way the roots can just really shoot out all along there. So there's that gardening stuff. And once I get done kind of covering some of these few little topics, I will look and see if I've got any questions, by the way. Let's see. Sorry. Herbal dosage reminder. All the time. I get people, and I know a lot of it's because of SNU people, or people that didn't see my SNU people, new people, or, people that just didn't maybe see a certain video where I've mentioned this. But there's a reason why a lot of times I'll do it sometimes just to give people a guideline if I know what the basic guideline is. But I rarely ever give dosages on how much a person should take unless I'm being very, very general. And so, when I'm doing the benefits of a certain herb, I'm just sharing the benefits and different ways you can use it. Dosage is going to be has to be determined by you and what your body needs and what you can handle. What medications you may be on, maybe you shouldn't even take that herb, what allergies you have, etc. Everybody is different. Depending on, there's so many factors that can come into play. And and I don't know, so I don't know all this stuff. I don't know what dosage is going to be right for any one person. I don't even know what dosage is going to be right for me when I start using a newer medicinal herb or tincture that I've made, because I'm not going to know. I have to start small and work my way up and listen to my body. So it's just like the nori. I was talking the other day about nori, and I did shoot that video on the benefits of nori, and I did come across a place that gave a general guideline of, for adult 3 to 4 sheets a day, to for a pregnant woman, 4 to 5 sheets a day, because, she's got 2, right? that need the nutrients, and a child 1 to 2 sheets a day. But those general guidelines could be totally wrong for one person over here. Maybe it's not enough. And for this person over here, maybe it's too much. It's all going to depend on how your body processes stuff, especially when you're talking about minerals. Some people, like people with thalassemia, have a tendency to store iron and certain other minerals that it can be easy to get too much. And you get too much of anything, it can make you very sick. So I'm paying attention, adding that nori, knowing that also has a lot of iron in it, but it's in a natural form. And I also have to be careful with iodine and how much I get. I'm paying attention to my body. And so I'm sticking right now to the lower end of the standard recommended dosage of 3 sheets a day, spreading it out through the day. And I feel pretty good. it's been great to start feeling better again after what I've been dealing with. And again, as I said the other day, I think it was Tuesday, that I did that spontaneous live thing. And I was talking about, the battling with the Epstein-Barr virus. And I will be shooting another standalone video on that. But like I said, the original video I shot was back in either 2021 or 2022. And I only published it directly to Rumble because I didn't trust YouTube with it. But when I do this next one, I'm going to publish it on YouTube. I just have to kind of be careful how I word certain things. So I just want to be able to, I've been kind of nervous about it, going over it, but with some of the changes I've made, like adding the nori, taking more turkey tail, and some other things, I feel that I'm really feeling led that I need to do this update, especially considering 95% of all adults over the whole entire world, all around the world, are infected with Epstein-Barr virus. They just don't know it. So being, so it's basically, it's latent in most people, and an active form is what gives you that extreme body fatigue. It can make it hard to do any physical activity whatsoever, which is what I've been struggling with. And several other things. It can also cause throat issues as well. So I think the thing with going on with my throat isn't just the nodules on my vocal cords, which I know is definitely a part of it. But I think there's some of the more extreme stuff has been because of that. But anyway, I just kind of keep praying about it. It's like, Lord, should I do this video? And if so, I really need guidance because I want to make sure I get good information out there that can help people. Because I know more and more people are dealing with it due to the 2020 virus that activated it in a great amount of people. So I really kind of felt a confirmation when yesterday I got an email from somebody asking me about that original video I did and how she can't find it. And because she found out she was diagnosed with the active case of EBV, which is what we call it. And, that's obviously the acronym for Epstein-Barr virus. And then talking to a couple other people that are dealing with it, I just feel like it's information that needs to get out there because I think a lot of people, they don't know what's going on. They don't know what's going on in their body. And unless they're getting the blood work to get it checked, they're never going to know. And like I said on Tuesday, it really, really angers me that 95% of the world's population is infected with this virus that they've known about since the 1960s. Whether they actually just discovered it or created it, who knows? But so many people have no clue. And a lot of people just think mononucleosis is its own standalone thing. It's not. It's Epstein-Barr virus and activation. And Epstein-Barr virus also causes chronic fatigue syndrome. I know I'm repeating what I said on Tuesday, but I got to get this out there because I feel like maybe there's more people hearing this. And it also causes fibromyalgia, and it also causes cancer, and it also causes, you name it. It's at the root of a whole bunch of things, and most people have no idea they're carrying this virus. So all it takes is a certain type of stressor to set it in motion. And sorry, it's just just text message. Beep, beep. It can be, emotional stress. It can be physical stress. It can be just simply getting a cold, a certain kind of cold, not just any cold. So anyway, initially, and then once it's been set off, then maybe every single time it is going to lower your immunities. And every single time you get exposed to the most simple cold or flu, you might only have that for a few days, and then it sets you back again, sets you backwards again. And that's what I've been battling with, especially in the past year. It's been most difficult in the past year. But ever since 2021, it's been a battle. This past year has been the hardest. So I'm going to do this video. I'm going to pray about it. And, and please, anyone who doesn't mind praying, that God gives me the wisdom and the right things to say and the right information to put out there so that more people can learn about it and understand. And there's no cure. There never has been a vaccine, and I don't think they want one. I don't think they do. Not that I would take it anyway if they had it. But there's really nothing you can do to get rid of it. But I do believe there's ways that you can manage it. And I think a lot of it is also about building our immune system as best we can, or rebuilding it, because it does knock your immunities down. And sometimes it's kind of like having to rebuild again. So, yeah. So chances are. Okay, let's move on to a different topic. Let's see. I talked about gardening stuff. This is one that people say to me a lot when I talk about how, cleaning out my blender isn't my favorite thing to do. And in any video where I've said that, there's always somebody, I use my blender a lot. It's just not my favorite thing to do. And if I can use something else instead of my blender, then I'll do it. But a lot of people will say, oh, but there's an easy way to clean out your blender. You just put a little dish soap and water in there and you turn it on. I get it. And if that works for you, good. My personal feeling, I tried it once. And then after that, I took it apart. It's like, yeah, I got a lot of it fairly clean. However, there's always that little spot that soap and water can't get to until you take it apart, which is between the rubber gasket and the pitcher and also the blade itself. So I will always keep taking it apart and clean that, because that could get pretty dang nasty if you never took it apart and cleaned it. So that's just my personal opinion. Just letting people know. Yes, I know about that trick. Just like I know about that, you can take a regular mouth jar and invert it and, put your ingredients in there, invert it, and then you just leave. I won't do that ever again. I don't recommend it, because if you're using any kind of slippery type, maybe you got oil in there, anything fatty that could possibly coat the rubber gasket, what's going to happen is, because that jar doesn't fit the same way as the pitcher, the glass isn't as thick, what's going to happen is that gasket is going to slip out of there and it's going to chew up the rubber gasket, and you're going to have to replace it. I had it happen to me twice, and I said, okay, I'm done. Never doing that again. So, so my personal opinion is don't do that. I know they even made jars specifically for that. I don't recommend it. Just use the pitcher that was meant to go with your blender. It's not that big a deal. The pitcher is the easy part to clean out anyway. It's the blades I hate cleaning, because they're sharp and you got to get under there. But anyway, so there was one more thing, I think. Or two more things. How much time do I have? Okay, I want to cover the topic of free shipping, because I've had a couple people who, especially, they'll say this about different things, but especially when my last video came out about coffee, where I was talking about the benefits of coffee. I'm not trying to tell people, by the way, oh, you should all drink coffee. I know not everyone can have coffee. Good gravy. There's other options. There's some great herbal teas. I do that too. I drink coffee and I drink my homemade herbal teas, especially lately, adding the nori, the dandelion leaves, and the nettle to it. So I'm getting lots of good nutrients, lots of those good necessary minerals. However, back to the free shipping. So because I buy from, where's it? It's out there. Which way do I go? Which way do I go? Shepherd's Crook. This is where I grind my coffee in the morning. I do it in here because it's the farthest room away from the bedroom. And I'm always up really, really early. And I like to let Patrick sleep. So I grind the coffee in here. And so there was like 2 or 3 people that are like, oh man, I wish they had it that, if you ordered enough, you can get free shipping. Well, here's the thing that a lot of people just, because we've been so conditioned to free shipping, if we order X amount of stuff, a lot of people just don't actually do the math to figure out what they're really paying. But even if you just go to Amazon and look up an item, and you'll see one item that costs a lot more money, and this item is a lot cheaper. So immediately it looks like the same exact item. But when you go and you look at them individually, you'll realize the more expensive item that is the one that has the free shipping. The cheaper one is the one that has the shipping added separately. So what does that tell you? If the shipping is free, it's not really free. It's been added into the total cost of the product. Etsy used to really try to encourage you to do that. Offer free shipping so that, you'll get more sales. Well, but then you gotta raise up the price of the product because it's still going to cost me money to ship it. It still costs me money. And so if I gave free shipping and every small business like Shepherd's Crook gave free shipping just because you ordered X amount of bags of coffee beans, they're going to actually go in the hole because they still have to pay shipping regardless. And if they offered free shipping, that means it's because they've added it into the price of the beans, the coffee beans, or the coffee, because you can get ground coffee too. And a lot of people forget that. And this applies to Azure Standard as well. Azure Standard does not, if you have to have Azure Standard shipped directly to your house, there's no amount that you can buy to get free shipping. You're going to pay the shipping. But the prices of the Azure Standard products, generally speaking, like for their grains and stuff, for buying bulk, are cheaper than other sites that have organic, non-GMO grains that offer free shipping if you buy $75 worth or more. It comes out to be about the same. Why? Because this company over here is adding extra cost onto the products so that they can pretend to give you free shipping if you order more stuff. So you just got to remember that. And so when people demand free shipping, especially from a small business like Shepherd's Crook, you're basically asking them to take a cut out of their income so you don't have to pay the shipping on it, because now they got to pay it so you don't have to. And I think we just got to remember to do the math and look at everything as a whole. Is Shepherd's Crook coffee cheap? No. Not compared to other coffee I can get. But is it good coffee? Absolutely. Do I think it's worth it? Absolutely. For many reasons. It tastes good. It's low acid. It's organic. And I'm supporting a small US-based business that is also faith-based, which is also important to me if I can do that. Not that I don't put, if this company, I'm only going to buy from Christian companies. I'm not that kind of person. Some people are. But if they have good quality product and they're organic, et cetera, then yeah, I think that's great. That just makes me want to support them even more so. But yeah, I'm also not going to cull a company just because they may be of a different religion, if they're atheists or something. Now, if they're openly promoting things that I find very immoral, then that's where I draw the line. That's why I don't shop with Mountain Rose Herbs, because open support of something I absolutely cannot agree with. And that's why I stopped buying from them years ago. So but that's my choice. I'm not going to tell everyone else you're evil and bad because you buy from them. I'm not going to do that to people like people always like to do to me all the time. Oh, you're so bad because you buy stuff from Amazon and you're supporting Jeff Bezos. I'm also supporting a lot of other small businesses that sell their stuff on Amazon or American workers, etc. I mean, go figure. Yeah. Same, Tyler. I know some people also use that why they don't shop Amazon. But one thing about Amazon that's different is people have a choice when they shop on Amazon if they want a portion of the money that they're spending to go to places like that. It kind of comes down to the people buying the product, not Amazon themselves. They give you options that you can go through this Smile thing, and if you buy through this company's Smile program, then you can support this church, or you can support Planned Parenthood, or you can support blah 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 blah. You still have a choice. It's not like it's being forced upon you to support those. So anyway, just things to think about. I don't judge people where they buy their stuff. Now, I used to back in the day when I became very anti-Starbucks. Not that I ever liked Starbucks coffee. I always thought it was kind of gross. And I'm not a big coffee stand coffee person because I find it to be an absolute waste of money. But personal opinion, people can treat themselves every now and then. Again, no judgment on my part. But yeah. Okay, excuse me, a little water. Okay, was that it? Was that it? Oh, one more thing. I'm actually going to cover, I was going to cover it on my last This and That that's publishing on Monday, and I totally spaced it out, but that's okay because it ended up being longer than I meant to. So I will say it now, but I'll say it again in the upcoming next, not this coming Monday, but the next Monday, whatever date that is, about the ice cream, because I'm going to do another update on the homemade ice cream. So I tried an experiment. By the way, making sure the bowl was completely frozen. That was my problem. That's why it didn't. It really does only take 20 minutes for it to turn into soft serve ice cream with the frozen bowl. And it's so good. Oh boy. But here's the trick. Here's the thing I thought I'd try. Always got to experiment. So I have all these dehydrated eggs. And I'm like, I wonder if this would work with dehydrated eggs. Now, you don't absolutely have to add eggs to your ice cream, especially if you're using more heavy whipping cream than you are milk. However, the eggs do add all that much more richness to it and flavor. And so, like French ice cream, you usually use more heavy whipping cream, less milk, and an extra egg than you would for the regular ice cream. But anyway, so I find this kind of middle ground between the two. I put in 2 heaping tablespoons of the dried egg powder, and I put it into the mixture and stirred it around and let it set for a while, hoping that would help it dissolve. And I was thinking, it's never going to dissolve. So I'm probably going to have little egg pieces in the ice cream. And so I'm like, well, I got to go for it. I don't have any other choice. So I poured it in there, and it's starting to spin, and I'm watching it, and I'm seeing the little egg pieces going around and around. But then after 20 minutes, when I came back and I checked it and it was all thickened up, I couldn't see any of the egg pieces in there. But I also went ahead and let it go for another 30 minutes. The second batch, I did the same way. I could see a few of the egg pieces in there, but I let it go ahead and keep mixing for another 10 minutes because it says 10 to 30 minutes before I scooped it all out. And I didn't see any egg pieces. It looks like it all fully dissolved in there. And then just put it in my container and stick it in the freezer so it can harden up. Well, at any rate, I just tasted today the one I made yesterday, and it tastes amazing. And I'm just doing vanilla ice cream right now. And the same thing with the last one where I used the powdered egg. I was really surprised. I'm thinking, man, it was probably a mistake to use the powdered eggs, but it worked. It worked really, really well. So I think the constant mixing, because it's got to keep it stirred up. I think that's what helps the little pieces of egg to fully dissolve in there. And boy, it's good. And even so, even if you get see a couple little tiny peaks, no big deal. No big deal. You're not going to taste it. It's not going to taste like egg. You put a little of that homemade caramel sauce or chocolate sauce or raspberry jam, or, maybe throw some pecans in there. Peanut butter, as your standard creamy peanut butter, by the way, is the best for putting on ice cream because it is actually pretty runny. It's not great for sandwiches, but it's so good on ice cream. So you can put a little peanut butter, or you can add some of your homemade chocolate sauce and the peanut butter. Oh, I think that's what I'm going to do. So I've decided when I make ice cream, I'm only going to do it like on a Thursday night or Friday morning, so we can have it from Friday, and then let it set, so we can have it for Friday, for the weekend, Friday and Saturday, and maybe Sunday. Patrick eats like big bowls of ice cream. I'll have like a little. For him, it's like, wow, this quart of ice cream, what is it? It's a quart. It makes about a quart. To him, that's 2 servings. So yeah, he eats about a pint at a time. I don't eat that much at a time. I can actually make a pint stretch out quite a ways. So I haven't tried any other recipes because the vanilla is just so good with all the different things you can do to it. I just don't. I'm like, I could put some chocolate. No, because I can put the chocolate syrup on top. Oh, maybe I should. No, I can do this. I can just add this, and that way we can have our choice to fancy up our ice cream however we want, or just leave it vanilla. Oh, one of the things Patrick did with the last batch I made was one night he had it with the chocolate and caramel, and another night he took some orange juice and basically made himself an orange float out of it. So there you go. That's all the things. Or you could take like I like to keep my little refrigerator. I have a little refrigerator in here I keep stocked for when we have company or we have the family over. And so I stock it with it's expensive stuff, but it is kind of fun to have it on hand. So I have a bunch of different flavors. What is it? It's not the Poppy Brown. I haven't tried that one yet. It's the other one, Olipop. And so they have Olipop has a vanilla orange and also just a plain orange soda. So it's like a probiotic soda. And, he's used those, and a root beer one. He's used those on the ice cream. Not the homemade ice cream yet, because I just now started getting back into doing that. And I did order on my next Azure Standard order the case of heavy whipping cream, knowing that I can freeze it and thaw it out, and it will work for making homemade ice cream and making caramel, because I did try making the caramel with the frozen and then thawed heavy whipping cream. So Jenny asks, did you ever find out what brand your ice cream maker it is? Oh, yeah, I know what the brand is. I didn't find what they, now can I remember? I said it in the video, but now I've already forgotten. Oh, darn it. Krups. Krups. And then it's got another specific name. I don't think Krups is making them anymore. I know they've made a couple of similar styles, but like how they always come up with some kind of updated style because mine is pretty old, because Mom bought it for me maybe when the kids were really young. Gosh, it could be 20 years old. Well, it's not really old, but for appliance, it's old. Yeah, I don't think they make it anymore, but I saw Cuisinart has one. And then, like I said, if you have a KitchenAid, you can get the KitchenAid bowl, which would actually be cheaper probably than buying the separate ice cream maker. And then you don't have another appliance taking up space. That's why I had it out in the shop. I hate having too many little things. That's why I won't have an air fryer. It's one reason why I don't have a KitchenAid is because it's just another thing to take up a lot of space on my counter. And so, and I don't have enough different things that I would use it for other than marshmallows. That's it for making homemade marshmallows. And it's not worth the cost, especially the one I liked best. Oh, that one was so beautiful. That one was $800. I'm like, okay, no, I don't think I'm going to pay $800 for a stand mixer just so I can make marshmallows. So let's see. I'll hunt. Yeah. I did kind of do a quick look online to see if I could find the Krups anywhere else, because I was looking on Amazon initially, and I just didn't see any anywhere, but I didn't look really hard. But like I said, there are the other brands. Like I said, I know Cuisinart was one. Hamilton Beach, I think, makes one, and they're all similar design where you have the bowl that you freeze. And boy, it makes it so easy. You just clean out the bowl, put it in a plastic bag, stick it in the freezer, forget about it for at least 24 hours. Then you take it out, and then you immediately start putting your stuff in there and turning it on. I turn it on first and then pour everything in there. And 20 to 30 minutes, you have a soft serve ice cream, which is really good just like that. But then, you scoop it out. This is the part I hate the most, is getting it off the little bladey things and, and getting it into the container, and then hurry up and put it in the freezer before it melts, because obviously it's soft. It's going to melt quickly. Next time, I'm going to remember to take the container that I'm going to put it in that and chill that first. Because as soon as you start putting it in a container, it wants to start melting because it's at room temperature. So I'm going to do that next time. And then, yeah, it's fast. It's a fast process. And you just turn it on. You don't have to keep, stirring and coming back and cranking. But there's still that. There's still ways to make ice cream without having to buy another appliance. Anyway, so, okay, I've already been on here an hour, but let me go ahead, and I've been trying to, let me do this. If anybody has any questions, maybe something you might have asked earlier that I didn't see, go ahead and ask them now and put them in all caps. And I'll just sit here and ramble for a bit and then try to approach the questions so you can just go ahead and post it again. Just put it in all caps. And then I'm just looking at my notes again to see if there was anything else. So yeah, it was just kind of random, rambly stuff. So Tyler, have you been being Have? Which I don't care. I kind of hope you don't. I came across that short that I made that time with that tamper that I had with the, I'm like, oh, that was some fun times. And that was kind of the thing. It's like, man, I really hope I can start doing lives again soon. And then all of a sudden there was a schedule change where my Fridays had opened up. I was almost thinking it might not work today because I was almost going to have to watch Jace. But yeah, so I've had to totally rearrange my schedule again. So I'm not shooting videos on Sunday anymore. I'm shooting them on Fridays and then trying to squeeze in a live show and hope I don't totally tear apart my vocal cords. Now, I'm not going to promise that I'll always be able to have a Friday live. I'm hoping to, but I was thinking, well, maybe I should just do once a month, maybe twice a month. I'm just having so much fun. I've missed this for so long. So the question was, do you use dehydrated corn silk, and for what? I haven't yet. Zach from An American Homestead, I think it was him that I saw, because I hardly watch any other many homestead videos at all. Deg and Stacy, if they do any like property updates, because where they're at, I'll watch those. That's about it. Because I'm really interested in what they're doing there. A lot of it is time. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. I'm sorry. But Zach does have a video on that. I'm hoping this year, I haven't decided yet if I'm going to grow my glass gem corn this year. I might. And if I do, I'm definitely going to save the corn silk, because I know it's got a lot of good, I can't remember what. I know Zach mentioned it in that video he did about corn silk. And he was making a tincture out of his. I'm not one that likes to tincture everything, but I do like to tincture some stuff. Let's see. Oh, bye, Maddie. Thanks for stopping in. Let's see. Dehydrated pumpkin powder keeps for years. I love my dehydrated pumpkin powder. I've been using it. Right now, what I'm trying to do first, because I've been adding it to almost every, the squash powder to every loaf of bread I make now, because I like what it does for it. The pumpkin is best, but I still have like some spaghetti squash powder I'm trying to work through, and I'll have I can make some zucchini powder. But obviously, the pumpkin powder adds a more distinct flavor than those other two. But a lot of it is the texture it adds to the breads and makes them nice and soft. Plus the added nutrients. So it makes a good tea. Are you talking about Kinley? I think is what it says. Are you talking about the corn silk? Corn silk makes good tea. Butternut squash, yum. I love butternut squash. I haven't had a chance yet to try it in pie. For some reason, I grew it 1 year. 1 year, it grew really good for me. And then I haven't been able to get good butternut squash since. I might try growing it this year, but I won't grow it if I'm growing pumpkin. I'll switch it up just because our small area. I think, if I remember correctly, butternut and pumpkin cross-pollinate. Am I right? Am I remembering that right? But I have another squash. I can't remember what the name of it is. I think it starts with a K that I saved the seeds from. I got this organic one from Misfits Market, and it looked interesting, and I wanted to try it. And so I really like the flavor of it, and I just baked it up, but I saved the seeds first, and I'm going to try that probably this year instead of pumpkin. And I think I looked it up, and I don't think it cross-pollinates with cucumber. It's funny how they're all so closely related, but some will cross-pollinate and some won't. So I'll have to double check, because I'd like to grow cucumber this year. I didn't grow it this last year because I didn't want it to cross-pollinate, and I was planning on saving this pumpkin seed. If I'm going to save the seed, I'm not going to grow them side by side, I don't grow them side by side. I just can't even grow them in their own separate areas that are enclosed, each of them enclosed, and they'll still cross-pollinate. And then I get like the cucumbers will turn, they get terrible. So I'm not doing that again. But butternut is probably my favorite. You get so much flesh in it too. Yeah, I love butternut. Acorn squash is pretty good too, but I haven't grown that. I haven't tried. I have a feeling it wouldn't work well. You and your chatters are encouraging your family, or hopefully. Well, that's good though. Alternatives to psyllium husk. Are you talking about for like gluten-free? Or just to take it? I'm sure it depends on what you're wanting to use it for. I don't really I have some psyllium husk powder that I got for back when we used to have these friends that were gluten-free. And I was doing a lot of gluten-free cooking for them and creating recipes, but I never ended up using the psyllium husk. I think you can use psyllium husk in place of, if I remember correctly, like the gums that, where you use like a Gower gum. What's the other one? There's another one to help bind. So especially if you're doing something like a pasta, you're putting a little bit of that in there in pie crust. But I just don't think I ever tried there's all kinds of things that are loaded with fiber that you don't have to depend on just that. I mean, there's bran, there's xanthan gum. Yeah, that's the other one. Thank you. Is that the one I have? I think xanthan gum is the one I have. But I did check with them to make sure they could have that, because some people are more sensitive to the gums. But you're only using like 1/8 of a teaspoon or something in a recipe. You don't need very much. And I think the dog wants it. I know it's not Cody, because Luna's here today, his sister. So we still have Luna. It comes around. She's here about 4 days of the week because we watch her when the kids are working. So I'm sorry, Luna. I'll be out in a little bit, but I really probably should get going. See, brush your, what is it? Brush your gums for dental health with what? What am I missing? What am I missing? Yeah, Tyler, they get super bitter. Like the ones that one year they started turning orange like a pumpkin. And then they got really deformed shape. They would like, I don't know. And when cucumbers turn orange, they're going to be bitter, and that bitter stuff. I forget what it's called. There's a name for it. I talked about it in a video, but now I can't remember the name for it. But you eat too much of that, and it can be rather toxic. So you got it not like you want to. It tastes terrible. It becomes horribly bitter. So yeah, I miss Cody. I started crying the other day, even after the amount of time, because I saw one of those old video clips of somebody who had think he was probably in the military, and his dog hadn't seen him in 6 months. And I usually just love those videos. I saw it, and I'm like, oh, how sweet. But then I started bawling. I'm like, okay, I can't do this. It's rough. We miss our little guy, sweet little guy. I mean, she's been a lot more needy and cuddly, especially now that Cody's not around here. And so there's that. We still have our Luna that comes around, who's not really our dog, but in a lot of ways she kind of is. So, and for those of you who don't know, Luna and Cody are actually brother and sister from the same litter. And anyway, but here's an interesting thing I'll throw at you real quick is so Luna, she's a lot bigger than Cody was. Cody was always skinnier, little, just partly because he's a little more active, but just his genetics. He got the more rat terrier side, so he stays skinnier. Where she's kind of got the dachshund side that has more, apt to get overweight. So she's got the lipomas, the little fat globules. She had one here, and she's got one here. She's got one on her leg. She's got one on her throat, and one on her stomach. And I've been learning more about, turkey tail mushroom in regards to dogs. And I had somebody tell me that they started feeding their dog some turkey tail mushroom, adding the powder to their food. And it was dissolving their different tumors, some of them being lipomas and some of them being, I don't know what. And her little lipomas are starting to shrink. As they first start, they get squishier, they get softer. And I started off with 1/8 of a teaspoon for her, because even though she's a lot bigger than Cody, she's still, I don't know how much she weighs, but then I've just increased it to 1/4 of a teaspoon. I sprinkle her on her food once a day when she's here, and I sent some home with my son so he could put some on her food too. So every day, every day giving that to her, and I could. It's some of them I can definitely see a difference. Some of them they might feel just as big, but they're softer. They're a lot softer. So that, to me, that's a sign that they're starting to shrink. So it seems to be working. But yeah, Luna, she doesn't like being in the crate a whole lot. Usually that's where she would sleep all day, her and Cody both in the crate. They have free access to go in and out of the crate. And now she just always wants to either sleep on my lap when I'm working on videos, because I always sit on the floor when I'm editing. And then, but then I just set up a little bed right next to me. So if she's not on my lap, she'll sleep on that little bed, because she just needs to be close to me. And I'm pretty sure that's why. She's always been a sweet dog and loves cuddles, but I noticed that she needs them a lot more now, and I'm pretty sure that's why. I think it probably feels a lot more lonely in that crate when she, so she doesn't go in there a whole lot unless she's trying to hide from the grandbabies. So anyway, well, I should get going. And wait, do we have another question? Let me do this first. Do you powder them raw or cook them first? than redry and powder. What I did, Tammy, was I have all that turkey tail mushroom that we've collected and dried from our own piece of property. I'm saving those whole. I'm not powdering them. I'm saving those to make tinctures out of, because I'm taking the tincture, but I'm also taking the powder. And I went ahead and bought some powder. And I found if you try to buy turkey, don't buy, okay. Biggest tip I can give you when it comes to dogs, cats, and turkey tail mushroom. Don't buy the stuff that's labeled for animals, because they will quadruple the price of it. If it says for dogs, then they will just jack up that price. Okay, so comparison. I found some that ended up price per ounce being like $1.50 an ounce. That still sounds like a lot, but just listen to this. The stuff that was labeled for pets, $22 an ounce. $22 per ounce. So just look for the powder. That's the one I got that had the best price I found on Amazon. I bought stuff from this brand before. It's not labeled as organic, but I'm not personally concerned about it when it comes to turkey tail mushrooms. There's certain things I'm more concerned about being labeled as organic, but they're mushrooms. Okay. If mushrooms don't need special fertilizers and pesticides. So if they're adding that stuff, they're wrong anyway. But anyway, it's packaged in a brown paper bag. They sell other products, and it says pure something. I know pure is the main word on there. It's part of the brand name. And I was reading, by the way, I was reading the reviews under there and to see if anyone was using that for their dogs. Right at the top, I found a review from a woman that was using it for her dogs to get rid of lipomas. So yeah, anything that's labeled for a pet, they can just jack that price way up and charge a whole bunch more. So anyway, I will try. In fact, okay, I'm here right now. Let me see if I can get that link to the one I got, because I keep forgetting. I can just get on here and look. And I thought the price was so, oh, darn, maybe I can't get on here. Let me try it a different way. Let's see. Turkey tail mushroom powder. Don't click on the one that says it's for dogs. But yeah, oh, here it is. Here it is. I found it. So it's about $25 for a pound of it. And darn, I can't get because I'm not logged in. Let me try again. Let me try again and see if I can log in here. Because then I can get my referral, my affiliate link, and it's shorter too. Darn, why am I not logged in the first place? Try again here. There's my account. Sorry, guys. Sorry. Ah, darn. Oh, my phone's right here. Okay, I gotta have the doggone verification code. There we go. Let's see if I can get in here. Okay, don't require a code on this browser. There. Good. Oh, for crying out loud. Why are they? Here we go. Okay, now I can do this. If it isn't going to be incredibly slow. There we go. Okay, got the link coming. Hang on, people, it's coming. And enter. There we go. So that's the link to the turkey tail mushroom powder that I bought. It was the best price I could find. And yeah, it seems to be working pretty good for the dog so far. So I'll keep you guys updated on that. You know, I know generally speaking, they're not, you know, they're they're benign, but the one that's on her throat, it's the one you can't really see as well, but it was a pretty big one. You just feel it. I'm just thinking that's got to be uncomfortable because it's like right there. And that was the one that worries me the most. Plus, the other ones are kind of ugly because she's short hair. It doesn't hide it. So, yeah. So I just put that link, and it's called, Pure Original Ingredients. But the packaging pretty much just says pure, and it's in the brown. So it's not fancy. I think that's part of the reason why it's cheaper, because I don't use a whole bunch of fancy packaging, And a lot of times that's where a lot of your cost goes into, is the packaging itself. It's like when I sell the skin cream, I have to make sure I'm also covering the cost of the packaging and the labeling and all that. So frog dog, big words. Oh, anyway, I do need to get going. I've got some other stuff I got to get done. And boy, I'm surprised my vocal cords have done so good today in my throat. I was sure it wasn't going to do that great. And I didn't get cut off either. How nice. How generous of YouTube to let me stay on here without cutting me off. That's so sweet of them. And I totally forgot to start off my show with God is good all the time. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great rest of your day, a great rest of your week, and hopefully I'll be on here next week with some more new lighting and more goofing around and playing around with this to see if I can get the best picture, best sound, etc., etc. So anyway, love you. Oh, and it's Friday, so have a great weekend. Take care, all. Bye.